What is going on, everybody? It's your boy John, and welcome back to Gearbox. So today we are going to be in the seated format, serious conversation type of video. And yes, if you are familiar with my channel, we are not exactly a flying/pilot YouTube channel, but it is a passion of mine, and I'm currently going through training on my instrument rating. So I wanted to make a video on that. Now specifically, and for those who may not know, while getting your instrument rating, there are basically, let's call it 4 main things that you need to accomplish in order to get said rating. One is a 250 nautical mile cross-country flight, which we have checked off. Number 2 is a written exam to prove your worthiness, let's call it, of said rating. Number 3 is an oral exam. And number 4 is a check ride. Now the oral and the check ride are done in the same day by a designated examiner. But to be honest with you guys, as far as I'm concerned, really the 2 main hurdles for me for this rating has been the cross country, which was nerve-wracking in more ways than one, but learned a lot and had a great experience doing it. I did that a couple weeks ago. And number 2, and most importantly, is the written exam. And I'm here to tell you, I won't wait to spoil it until the end of the video. I passed my written exam, and to be honest with you guys, I'm pretty proud of myself on that. It's a pretty hard test. There's a lot of stuff that you basically need to consolidate into right here, and problem solving and all of that sort of stuff. Not to scare anyone away from it necessarily, but it is a pretty in-depth exam, and it should be treated that way when it comes to studying for it. And that really leads me into the whole purpose of this video, and that's really just a couple different ways that I used in order to set myself up for success when it came to the written exam of the instrument rating for your private pilot license. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So in regards to the written exam specific to the instrument rating, really the first thing I would probably recommend, and something that I did, was to start studying for that written way before you get in the plane and way before you really get deep into your actual pilot, flying training. And really the big reason there is, sure, studying anything can be consumed and can be, memorized in some form or facet, and that's fine. But when you start to study the actual verbiage associated with an MEA, or a AROCA, or an ILS, or an RNAV, or whatever. Once you have, even if you don't quite understand it, even if you have that inkling as to what that might be, when you get into the cockpit and you start actually flying with your instructor and start pursuing the hours to accumulate to then be an instrument rated pilot, you have a greater understanding of what's going on, and more importantly, why things are going the way that they're going. I myself am a visual learner and a doing it learner. If you are watching this video and you're typically to this channel for car and truck content, any of the installs that I do, I'm just kind of going for it. Yeah, I have a little bit of guidance here and there, but I learn by doing. And I'm sure a lot of pilots are that way, not necessarily just, nose to the grindstone, reading a textbook, reading the FAR aim from front to back. That's no fun. But getting a good foundation of knowledge from the written, portion of the instrument rating is going to do you wonders in your actual flying endeavors when it comes to, trying to get that rating. And that would be my number one, serious number one thing to consider before you hop into the plane to start your instrument rating endeavor. The second piece of advice I would give any aspiring instrument pilot to take is finding a good ground school. And I want to start this off by saying, if you are a 141 student pursuing your instrument rating, I'm just going to go ahead and assume and pray to Christ that your ground training at your designated school will suffice. But this will also apply in some way, shape, or form. But really, if you're like me, who's flying out of of flight school, you need to have a good source of information to consistently study and review. In my case, I use the Sporties online ground school. And of course, Sporties being the huge name that they are, they have 1,000,001 courses when it comes to aviation. And really, once again, back to the first point, I started that training before I got into the plane and started flying. I had been fairly familiar with what instrument flying was and kind of what it looked like, but getting down into the weeds and starting to understand what's going on and ultimately being able to pass your written, your oral, and your check ride, it all starts with a good foundation of knowledge, which basically differs visual flight rules, or VFR, from instrument flight rules, which is IFR. There's a lot of nuances in instrument flying that aren't necessarily intuitive to any pilot who has never embarked on this endeavor. So get a good ground school, get a good understanding, get some videos, get some practice tests. You have to be able to not just regurgitate information, but be able to read what the situation is and read what the figure is or the appendix is or whatever, and apply all of your knowledge to understand what situation best suits the intended outcome of your instrument flight, of your instrument approach, so on and so forth. And once again, there's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of minimums and regulations and all of that type of stuff, but finding a good ground school is going to be a great start to start getting that foundational knowledge for your instrument rating. And for the third and final point in today's video, I want to talk about the idea of using other platforms to help you build that knowledge as far as instrument flying goes. And what I'm really talking about here is YouTube. You can do all of the Sporties ground school, front to back, back to front, whatever. You can go to Flight Insight, take your practice test. You can go to Shepherd Air and do your thing. You can do Pilot's Cafe. There's a lot of shit out there. But in my opinion, one of the most beneficial things when it comes to learning anything is listening and, soaking in the information of someone who's talking to you, who's been there and done that. Aviation 101, Trent Palmer, there's a lot of aviation YouTubers out there who are instrument rated pilots and who put an emphasis on making sure that basically they are providing as much information as possible to make me and to make you the best pilots we possibly can be. And in a lot of ways, it's nice to hear their approaches, no pun intended, or their thought processes on how they're doing things and why they're doing things in their terms. Sure, textbooks lay it out for you word for word as far as what you need to know and why you're doing it technically, but it doesn't give it that personal feel. And being able to listen to someone explain it as if you were an elementary school kid, that makes a world of difference in my opinion. And there's countless times where I've watched videos on what an ILS approach is. What are the different types of holding pattern entries and when and why do you do them? Minimum altitudes, oxygen requirements, flight visibility and cloud obstruction shit, alternate airport minimums, all of these sort of things, and being able to distinguish when you need X, when you need Y, why you would do X, why you would do Y. There's so many different things in aviation, even outside of instrument flying. A lot of pilots will tell you, if you ask a pilot a question, 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be, well, it depends. It depends on the airspace. It depends on the weather. It depends on the weather at the alternate. It depends on if you're over mountainous terrain or non-mountainous terrain. There's a lot of what ifs in instrument flying and flying in general, and it's easy to get caught up in those tricky situational questions. And in my experience, listening to other people talk about it, and not only talk about it, but also show a flight and show the flight plans that they're doing and get to the understanding of why they're doing it the way they're doing it is invaluable, guys. You have all of this information to soak in, so why not, take the initiative to try to get all the information you can? And in my experience, that's been something that's been difficult for me. I am a very confident person, and not confident to a fault necessarily, like I'm a moron who doesn't believe they have faults or issues, but when I hop in a cockpit or when I hop in a car or whatever, I like to think that I'm pretty good at what I do. And especially when it comes to flying, that's not always the best approach. And you need to kind of get down on a knee and go talk to someone and be like, hey man, can you walk me through this? I've really been struggling with this. It would mean the world to me if you help me out. And that's good for two reasons. One, it shows humility for you as an individual human. But two, it proves that you want to be the best pilot that you can be. And ultimately, you're never going to be the best pilot you can be unless you learn from other people and other people's triumphs, other people's mistakes, and just use that as a culmination to further ground yourself in your understanding of instrument flying or any flying for that matter. So anyway, I will get off my soapbox here and preaching and all that sort of stuff, but I wanted to make this video and say, one, being able for me to look back on this video and say congrats for passing your written IFR test. I'm super pumped. I'm proud of myself. I think that's a big feat for me, but also to help you guys, right? We're all in this together. No one person is singled out and on their own. I believe the pilot community is one of the closest knit groups that there is, and we should all strive to help each other thrive in the world of aviation. And so that's why I'm making this video. Once again, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, you know where to put them. I really would love to have multiple conversations with you guys and understand where you are at in your journey and see if there's anywhere that my experience or whatever can help you to succeed in whatever it is that you're hoping to succeed in. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to end it there. But once again, questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the comments down below. If you like this video, give this video a big fat thumbs up. And as always, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You know the drill. And until next time, peace.